not to him the nose guard.
Welcome to the newest episode of the Huddle. My name is Irvin Godinez.
I'm Colby Bart.
Today we have a great guest on today. He led his team to a division championship this year with a 4-1 conference record and 10-2 overall record. He was top 5 in passing yards with 1,200 yards. Started varsity since he was a sophomore. He earned second team all-conference, and he made the all-area team, and he has committed to Wilmington. Miles Hostetler.
Let's go.
Let's go, bro. I'm excited to have you on,
Appreciate
man.
it.
OAC. Let's go. Represent.
Yeah, I know you know it.
So, man, let's go ahead and just start from the beginning, man. You know, when did you start playing sports, and why did you start playing?
I started playing sports as long as I can remember. But I never played football up until 7th grade. So I was always a soccer and basketball guy. Those were my big two. So, but yeah, always just keeping active, playing. Don't laugh at that. I know, soccer player. I know. I'm not proud of it, but yeah, But
So why did you finally decide to stop playing soccer and switch it over to football?
well, I always wanted to play football,
Okay.
but parents didn't want me to get a concussion at a young age, so they said wait until 7th grade, because my mom is very familiar with the MAC. Do you guys know what the MAC is? Like
Yeah.
Versailles, and they all don't do football up until like that's when my uncles played, and like
They do like flag football, I think.
yeah, they don't do tackle and contact until 7th grade. So
I
they
had no idea about that.
they were and they're like some of the best teams in the
It's
state.
so annoying.
So tell me about it.
Versailles is crazy.
That's
I
where
don't
my
wanna
uncle
talk
played.
about
He won 3 state championships in 4 years of high school.
Wait, who did?
My uncle.
Really?
Yeah.
3 out of the 4 years? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
So annoying.
It was he was nuts. But yeah, that's kind of they like that tradition of not playing until 7th grade. So then they waited to put me in until 7th grade. So
I know a lot of, like, because I know I started, 6th grade probably. So I guess not that much. But, like, did you feel any disadvantage starting up in middle school, or was it pretty easy from there?
yeah, that first year definitely I felt pretty out of the loop. Just common stuff like the 6-hole, the 3-hole. Like when they're telling about running, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like my tackling form was terrible. Like that's just something that they taught in Pee Wee was like good form tackling, and I could not tackle to save my life. So a couple things, but by the time I got to high school, no, I was right with everybody else at my grade.
You know, you said that you played soccer, and you said basketball or baseball?
Basketball.
Okay, so when did you realize that kind of football was your favorite, and that that's something that you want to continue to pursue?
Well, probably sophomore year when I started playing varsity, and just the energy, just the electricness that I felt on a Friday night. I scored a touchdown sophomore year. I only had one all year sophomore year, but I got one, and that feeling just never left me. And it was just like, I can't stop doing this, like ever. So it was just that I've never gotten that feeling from anything else in life.
Yeah.
And I love basketball, and I loved playing soccer at the time, but something about that was just nothing ever topped that.
Did you play both ways, or were you just quarterback only?
So sophomore year, I actually played receiver.
Okay.
I played DB, for 3 years.
Yeah.
But then they had a guy at Q that was a senior my sophomore year. So, and he was the quarterback the year before as a junior. So they were real big on loyalty.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to obviously give the job to a sophomore. I'm not saying I would have won the job straight up. I think I should have, but that's just me believing in myself. But yeah, I played receiver, and then junior and senior year played quarterback.
Did you get any reps at quarterback when you were were you the backup at least?
Yeah,
or?
I would split practice. So half of practice I would go all with the receivers, the other half I'd stick with the quarterbacks.
Was it expected from you? Like, did you know going into your sophomore year that you were gonna start, or like did they just kind of throw you in there?
Yeah, I had no idea up until like probably late July where I was gonna be playing. They threw the idea around a little bit all throughout the summer, but nothing was ever set in stone until probably at end of July.
And what was kind of like that switch from wide receiver to quarterback?
Well, see, I always believed myself to be a quarterback. So it was just, for me, just getting on the field any way that I could. And I knew I was going to play DB, but just that field experience, so it wasn't that crazy of a it honestly helped me understand receivers more than the next year playing quarterback,
Right.
having played receiver, and it helped me playing receiver in past years of playing quarterback. So I think those two go hand in hand pretty well.
So, fun fact. Everybody played JV football, right, at one point.
Yeah.
Why you say it
Yeah.
like that?
So,
Yeah.
you're talking about playing receiver and quarterback, and it really just made me think of a time. And we were actually playing West Liberty in like a JV football game. We had this guy, his name was Hayden Webb. He was like 320 pounds and real big dude.
I can tell you said 320.
Like real big guy. Like not very tall, big guy.
Okay.
And they stuck him back there to play quarterback.
Wait. No.
You QB sneak it?
Their QB sneaked it, and he ended up getting 12 yards.
12?
Yeah, and they used to let me kick during JV football games.
Nah, no.
And I would always just pelt the center right in the butt every time, dude. And that just kind of made me think about that a little bit.
The wonderful world of JV football.
No, seriously, man. But kind of to continue, what Irv was talking about, what were some of your expectations heading into your senior year of football season?
Senior year, we knew we had a talented group.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we knew we were going to be something special if we could do things right. Junior year felt kind of like we had all the pieces, we just couldn't put it together, if that makes sense. Junior year was kind of just like we had the talent, we just couldn't quite get it there. So senior year, going into that, we kind of all knew, like, if we do this right, we're going to be something special. And so expectations were high for us, at least holding them. I don't think, we went 5-5, I think,
Yeah.
junior year.
How was the dynamic in your locker room? Like, was everybody very tight-knit? Like,
Senior
all of you
year
guys
was,
hang out?
yeah, senior year was perfect. I mean, that senior class, we were all very close, and it helped a lot on the field, for sure.
You talked about going 5-5 your junior year.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk to us about how it felt going 6-0 to start off your senior year?
It was a feeling I've never felt before. I mean, it was awesome. It was maybe a little cocky at some points we were, but, I mean, we were on top of the world.
Right.
And it was just like anything we touched turned to gold. Like, we
I love that.
felt great.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
my bad. Sorry. But taking us into that 7th game, West Jefferson, obviously historically a very good football school. How was that game for you? Final score was like 62-47, I believe,
Yep.
which is insane to me. I was telling her, I'm like,
yeah.
dude, is this basketball?
Yeah, it was nuts. It was, I mean, going into it, we knew it was going to be a fight. I mean, they were 6-0, we were 6-0. We knew it was going to be crazy. We knew the winner of that was probably going to get the league title.
Yeah.
And we ended up sharing it, but we knew that was going to be, we were the top 2 teams.
Yeah.
And so coming into it, talk a little strategy here. Defensively, they were passing they're offensively, they're passing for almost double the numbers anyone else in the league was doing. I mean, their quarterback, he's a sophomore this year, started as a freshman. He'll be a 4-year starter there. He's a player. So we knew we had to do something about that. And most teams, what they did, they'd rush 3, they'd rush 4, they'd drop everybody back. And we thought, and they were still killing them. I mean, they were finding zones. So we were like, we're going to send the heat. We went straight man, and we blitzed the crap out of him. We were hoping to hit him, and their guys made plays, and their receivers made plays. And offense did our job. We scored 47 in a game. Like, there's not many games we score 47 and lose. So
62 points is ridiculous.
their guys made plays. I'm not even mad about it. Like, all of us DBs were sitting in the locker room after the game. Like,
how deep did they make it into the playoffs this year? Do you know?
I think they lost 3rd round. I think they won 2 playoff games.
Who did they lose to, like a Versailles or like?
I couldn't tell you. Yeah.
The score was 62-47. So, was there a time where it was somewhat close? Like, was it tied at one point? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Were they always ahead?
We were up, I think, 2 scores at halftime.
You were up 2 scores at
I
halftime?
believe it was. We were up the majority of the game, up until that late 3rd quarter,
What do you
4th
think
quarter.
that switch was? Or where did it go wrong?
I think our DBs got tired.
Yeah.
I mean, we were playing straight up man, no high safety for a whole game, and we were getting tired. And their guys, they're one of those teams that you look on the sideline, you're like, there's no way these guys should be in our division.
Yeah.
Like, we're over there with like 50 guys on our team, and they're pushing 80.
Yeah.
It's like they've got depth like crazy.
Right.
That's just the culture there. Like everyone plays football, so it's like they had depth in guys, and they had a guy that I know the guy personally. He's a great guy, but he had like 2 career catches before that game, and he caught like 3 touchdown passes against us. It was just they were pulling kids off the bench, pulling them up from
crazy,
JV,
bro.
and we were just getting gassed. Our DBs were tired.
Before we move on to the next thing, can we just talk about, you talked about how you guys were up 2 touchdowns at halftime, right? You're feeling good. You think you guys probably got it locked down.
Yeah.
So talk about, maybe share some words to those younger athletes who might be in that similar situation next year. Do not ever let off the gas.
We always say keep your foot on the pedal. Don't ever let up, because we play in a league where there's no like standout players, but there's no one bad enough there's no one bad enough they can't beat us, is what we always said. Like, we were a good football team this year, and we knew if we did everything right, there was no one that could touch us. But there's always going to be someone that can beat you. And there's not a huge talent differential to where you can do everything wrong and you're still going to come out with a win. Any team can beat you. So you just got to keep your foot on the gas.
So, kind of to piggyback off of all of this, and after talking about this West Jefferson game, I'm kind of curious myself, was there a team that you looked forward to playing more than others?
I love playing Mechanicsburg. That's just... Growing up, that was a rivalry my dad talked about, because Dad played at West Liberty too. So, Mechanicsburg is always a big one just for that. West Jeff, I knew was going to be exciting because of that reason.
Yeah.
And honestly, any team that we lost to in the past year was a team that I had circled on my calendar. Any team that was like, they thought they had an
easy win.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the last couple of years that I was in high school, we weren't, I think we went 2-8 my sophomore year, and then 5-5 my junior year. So it was like
completely flipped the script this last year. Then
guys had us on their senior nights playing us, homecomings against us, and it was just like
we're gonna win.
Those are the guys we want to take out for sure.
When did it click to you guys that you guys were gonna have an incredible season? Like, when did you know, like, okay, we're not gonna, this is different this year?
See, and it's funny because I have this, and I'll always remember that we just beat Ben Logan. I think it was like 47-7 or something. It was we killed him, and I came over to the sideline, hugged my mom, and she looked up and she was like, "Now, is everyone that we're playing really bad, or are we really good?"
Right.
And I was like, I'm not sure, because we beat Graham the week before, and then we beat Ben Logan, and it was like neither of those teams were like huge flexes to beat. No offense, but
they're working on it.
No,
they're working on it.
So I would say probably about week 6, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
When we beat Northeastern was probably, because Northeastern last year was a powerhouse. They killed us like 49-10.
I got some bad memories about Northeastern just because I filmed for Riverside.
Oh, did Riverside play them 2 years ago or last year?
Well, I think we played them. Yeah, I don't know how long we've been playing them now, but I'm pretty sure we played them last year.
Yeah.
I know we played them this year.
Yeah, I remember this year's game.
But man, watching and filming that game, that halftime was different, bro. So you take your halftime, go to the locker room, talk it out, whatever. This time we didn't have a little because their locker room they put us so far away. So we just go outside of the field, in the grass, and everyone's absolutely heated. And by everyone, I mean the coaches.
Yeah. And
the line was just not doing their job right. They're pushing sleds throughout the halftime, and it was just a little something different. But you're talking about Northeastern is pretty cool because we Riverside beat them too just by a point. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was the biggest one for us that we were like, all right, we're good, because that was the team that were like, they lost some guys and they're not at the same level that they were last year, but at the same time they still had that swagger and that confidence of that team carrying over from last year. So, and we beat them, I think 47 to something.
Would you say that was like one of your more exciting games this last year, or like? Yeah,
for sure. It was that one was a ton of fun. Mm-hmm. It being homecoming was nice too. But yeah, beating those guys, we were like, all right, like, we got this.
So you're in high school, right? I think a lot of people forget to realize how much stuff high schoolers have to worry about, right? So, right, you got school, right? You got classes, you got your friends, you probably got a girl, and then you got to worry about sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, being a high school athlete, what are some things that you don't think a lot of people talk about that probably should be talked about a little bit more?
I mean, it's more just like, a lot of high school athletes deal with stress from coaches and teachers both. I mean, because not a lot of times do you have a good system where the coaches and teachers are on the same wavelength. So sometimes teachers are asking you to do stuff and coaches are asking you to do stuff. I know, like, during the year we'd watch film during school sometimes, and I never had a huge problem with it, but I know a lot of guys would have teachers not wanting them leaving their classes or leaving during homeroom to watch film. And so just having to deal with not a specific thing, but dealing with a lot of things, is just stress on kids my age. But
Right.
So you're saying just like the expectation kind of.
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like you're expected to do this, expected to do that, and it kind of just mentally is taxing sometimes.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I feel like it's a hard thing sometimes too because, I mean, you're in high school, you're trying to have fun, hang out with your friends, but you have all this expectation on your shoulders too. But yeah, I definitely would agree with that, man. Like it stays that way too, if that makes sense. Like when you're in college, it's the same way.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Well, that's
football,
comforting.
football. But if you're a guy like me, a non-athletic regular person, it gets to the point where you step out into the real world and you don't have that football, and it's like, well,
What am
I gonna do now?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you know.
Moving on, we'll talk about, tell us how it feels to be division champions this year and what it feels like to only lose one regular season game.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal feeling. It was just like, I've already said this, but like everything we touched turned to gold. Like walking in the hallways felt different. Like going to the local gas station, you felt like you were a hometown hero. Like it was a great feeling. Yeah.
So you shared that with
West Jeff. We both went 9-1. Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about that first playoff game. Who did you guys face, and how did that kind of?
The first playoff game we played Lucasville Valley, which I never heard of them before that.
Yeah.
I think they took a charter bus, like a 2.5-hour bus ride. Like it was but that was probably one of my best performance games.
Yeah.
We started out super slow. I think we turned the ball over, not turned it over on downs for the first 2 drives.
Mm-hmm.
And then they threw a touchdown. We were down 7-0. And then from that point on, it clicked, and we ended up winning 47-7. And we just,
Oh, wow.
they scored that first touchdown. And it was just, after that, we were clicking. It was one of my favorite games because I got a lot of different guys incorporated.
Mm-hmm.
I got one of my buddies, Lincoln Henderson, who was a junior and had no catches all year. He got a touchdown pass. Carson Poppy, who had a kind of a quiet year for us, had a huge momentum swing early on in that drive. Got us down to the 2-yard line. Like everyone was incorporated that game, and it was a cool feeling.
Yeah.
How does it feel, because you just said that junior didn't get to touch the ball that much. When someone isn't involved as much, how does it feel as a quarterback to be able to give them that play and, give them that satisfaction that they probably didn't have all year?
Right. No, that's definitely one of my favorite parts about playing this position. It's also the worst part, though. At the same time, you got guys always saying, well, I was open. It's like, but that feeling of getting guys, especially guys that don't get the ball a whole lot, and not in a charity way. I mean, all the guys that were on my team worked hard enough and were more than talented enough to get the ball in every situation. But it was just how the defense played it and how I read it. But yeah, it was nice to get those guys the ball when they deserved it.
So that takes us into like the last game, Talk to me about that and kind of how you felt personally after that final, bell and that final sound went off.
That was one of the hardest moments of my life for sure, because as long as I can remember, I wanted to play football there, and it was like, so from my house, you can see the stadium lights.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and so
sick.
growing up, it was always like, Like I'm gonna play there one day. Like I
Right.
could see the stadium lights on Friday nights. I kind of thought it would be soccer at some points I was going to be playing there, but I knew I was going to play on that field. So having that realization, because I'm a very competitive guy, and only losing one game all year up until that point, losing wasn't really familiar.
Right.
So I was more just kind of upset that we lost, and it didn't really sink in until they took that final knee, and my coach came over and hugged me, and it was kind of like, why are you hugging me? Like, it's whatever. But then I kind of sunk in, like, oh, this is it. And
So it didn't really hit you at first, like. Hey,
no, I didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't even realize. Like, I mean, I don't know, but I was just like, dang, we lost. All right. I don't really remember what I was thinking, to be honest with you. But as soon as Coach Miguel came over and hugged me, I was like, oh, this is it. Like, it's over. And after the game was over, I went and sat I leaned up against the uprights, and I just stared at the field for a while.
Right.
It was kind of a cool moment, though, because the quarterback before me, Christian, he came over, and he helped me up and
That's awesome.
walked me back. Yeah, it was a great moment. But
So you were talking a little bit about Coach Miguel, right?
mm-hmm.
And I had the honor to be coached by Tim Miguel. So he's a very, very good football coach, and I think he turned Riverside around for the better, right?
Yeah.
He coached there for a few years, and I had him for all 4 of my years. And every single year we were really good. I think the first year, I think we only lost like 1 or 2 games. Second year, same thing, and then I think we went 6-4 my junior and senior year. So obviously, just very good at what he does.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about his brother.
Well, both of his brothers
Right.
are on the coaching staff. So Dan is the head coach,
Right.
and he is probably the smartest football mind I've ever talked to. And he's one of those guys. We were talking before we started recording about how college coaches are usually more energetic and how high school guys are kind of tame. And he's one of those guys that he is cool, calm, and collected. But then, we break off a 30-yard run, and you think he's a 21-year-old again. He's fired up. So he's one of those coaches that, I think everyone should have the experience of playing for somebody like that, because
Right.
he honestly, he opened the game up to me to really, he really helped me understand that I want to play in college.
Okay.
And he told me that, if you don't love practices, don't go play college, because you got to love the practices. You got to love every part of it to play and succeed in college.
Right.
And that was something I never thought about before. So things like that, he really opened the game up to me, for sure.
So that kind of takes me into the recruitment process. That's something that was a huge part, and the stress of my senior year at least, and I'm sure it had been you. Take me through that. What college have you visited? Who have you talked to? And what ultimately made you decide Wilmington was the choice?
Yeah, so that summer before, so I didn't realize, set in stone that I wanted to play in college up until right before my junior season. Yeah. When I was like, all right, I want to play in college. I need to, like I said, I can't stop doing this. I need to keep going. So that summer in between junior and senior year was only the really time I had to go recruit. Mm-hmm. But I think I went to Hiram College. I went to Wittenberg. I went to Lock Haven. Mm-hmm. Wilmington, obviously. I went to, was that it? Yeah, that was it. Just those 4. Had interest from a couple of those schools, but ultimately when it came down to Wilmington, I went on a visit, and Coach Philly, who's not the coach there anymore, but he was the guy that got me, and he told me that to go where I needed to be was the people and not the place. And so he was like, and he always said home. Home was always his thing. He was, find your home. Yep. And he said, home's not a place, home's people. Yes. So find the people that are going to help you succeed in life and after college and after football's over. And I thought Wilmington was the greatest place I could go to follow my major and what I wanted to do after college.
Before you actually, we started recording or whatever, we were talking, and a lot of the Wilmington coaching staff has very good friendships and connections with Heidelberg, and Coach Philly is definitely one of those guys, mm-hmm. and he hits it right on the head, man. Wherever you go, it's not the place that's going to make it. It's the people. Like,
Right.
Essentially, at the end of the day, like those friendships, those bonds, those memories is kind of what you hold on to, not that $5 burger down the road that tastes real good. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and that kind of that brings us into the next subject, talking about the McGills, right?
Right.
Talk about playing with Gabe McGill, the OHC Player of the Year, and coming kind of how you felt for him after he got that Player of the Year award.
Yeah, I mean, Gabe's the greatest football player I've ever witnessed. I mean, that dude has a ferocity like no one I've ever watched. I've been on the sidelines for college games, on a couple of visits. I've seen some D3 college games, and I've still never seen someone that is ferocious and as aggressive as Gabe is. It's just he's one of the guys that it never seems like he's getting tackled going backwards. Like, the guy could get tackled, but he's always going forward. His feet are always moving. And he's one of those guys that he puts the work in the offseason, and he deserves everything that he's gotten. And it was nothing but, I mean, we all expected him to get it because he's Gabe. Like, it's been that way since 7th grade, since I started playing football. Gabe's the guy. I mean, nothing against the guy. Like, it's not like I don't say it as a bad thing. Like, dude makes plays when we need something. I mean, when I think about the great Gabe McGill, we played Ben Logan my junior year, and that was a big, big game for us because we had a guy, Trevor Berry. Does that name sound familiar?
Yep.
He played at West Liberty for a couple years, but then his senior year,
Transferred back to Ben Logan.
moved back to Ben Logan, and he told us, he was like, nothing against you guys, I just want to have like a good senior year. And so we kind of took that personal, like, you don't think you can have a good year with us.
Yeah.
So that was a huge personal game for us. And I think we took it almost like too personally because I was like having trouble catching the snaps. I was so nervous. Guys were dropping passes. I was throwing balls over people's heads. Like, we were kind of a mess.
Yeah.
And Gabe just put the team on his back. He scored, I think, 5 or 6 touchdowns that game.
What?
We ended up winning. It was just like, and we were like, all right, this kid's nasty. Like, this kid's something special. So, I mean, things like that in a sport where, like, not often can people just, like, take over a game.
Yeah.
It's hard to do in football, right? Basketball guys can just take the ball and take over.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
football, it's hard to do that. And Gabe's one of those guys that he can do that.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes me into, like, the value of you, the leader you are, and also the teammate you are. Like, what would your teammates say about you if you were not there? And how would they describe your leadership?
I mean, I think I can be definitely over-aggressive sometimes. I mean, if someone does something wrong, I'll let them know.
Yeah.
For sure. But I like to lead by example.
Yeah.
And I think my guys would recognize that, and that I show what to do in the weight room, how to put the work in, put the hours in. But at the same time, like, yeah, if you do something wrong, I'm gonna let you know about it.
Like, what's your biggest worry, concern, or
Yeah, for sure.
if, like, honestly, if there's any advice that I can give to help?
Yeah, for college, I don't know how the whole, like, it's like you hold yourself, like, responsible. You know what I'm saying? Like, in high school, you're right there in front of a bunch of, like, the teacher's right there. You're stuck in this.
Yeah.
You're stuck in a school for however long school lasts, and it's like you're pushed to do these assignments. Where I feel like it's much easier to push assignments off in college. It's much easier to procrastinate in college. It's much easier just to sweep it under the rug. And so I'm just kind of worried I'm going to do that.
So I know that if I know some of the Wilmington coaching staff while I was there, they had like an academic game plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. Stay in that because that's helpful.
Okay.
And I mean, there's a lot of different athletes that we've had on here, buddies I played with, buddies that went to different schools. And a lot of them constantly, like, that specific thing that sticks with me every time is they all say, like, get up every morning and be better than when you were yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if you do that, that'll hold you accountable more than anything else will. Like a calendar, schedule, whatever.
Right. Okay.
I mean, that stuff's huge. Just always trying to be your best and compete against yourself to be the best you can.
Right.
We want to talk a little bit about you working with Jake Kennedy and Tavian St. Clair. Jake Kennedy is a football coach over at Belfallen, and obviously Tavian's an Ohio State committed football player.
Right.
So talk about going to those camps and working with them.
I mean, yeah, we work out pretty much every Sunday. Today is an exception because of spring break. I think we took it off. But every Sunday, I think we started in early February until the season starts up in August. It's every Sunday we're out there at Bellefontaine High School getting after it. And honestly, when we first started up, February of my junior year, before my senior year, leading up to my senior year. And it was just me and Tavian for a while. Tavian brings his little brother, Rain. So it was just the three of us getting work in, and now it's kind of grown to a couple quarterbacks from around the area come in. But honestly, I attribute a lot of my success that I had senior year to Jake and to Tavian. It really helped a lot.
That's awesome getting to hear that. I didn't know you guys were getting together every weekend and working together. That's pretty dope.
How would you say that program and that training has helped you as an athlete and maybe even as a person?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's definitely helped me in the way of like just getting different perspectives as a quarterback. I've learned, and we talked about Brad Jarzab, who's my quarterback coach at West Liberty, played at Shawnee, then went and played at St. Francis. Mm-hmm. Like, he's a great player, and he's got a cannon of an arm. But it's different to see, everyone throws differently. And he's one of those guys that he's got a real high release point. Yeah. And that's how he thinks it's done. And then I go and watch Jake Kennedy throw. He's got kind of a lower release point. And he's more focused on hip rotation and footwork. And Tavian, he's got a strong enough arm, he can do whatever. But it's like learning that quarterbacking is different for every person and seeing those different perspectives, getting it from Jake a little bit, getting it from Jarzab a little bit, like getting different quarterbacks that I know both played at a very high level. Jake played professional football over in Europe. So I know these high-level guys getting different perspectives, different points of view about my mechanics and how I throw helped me an insane amount.
Absolutely.
Who motivated you to just keep working and, be great at football?
Yeah, definitely my dad is a huge inspiration just because, he's always been there, just kind of keeping me accountable in everything that I do. Yeah. But then as far as football goes specifically, just my teammates, thinking about how much they rely on me on any given night and how I got to be perfect if we want this year to be special.
What's the way that you handle the pressure on your shoulders, from being that starting quarterback and also, playing on a very successful team? Yeah. Talk about that pressure that you might have felt and how you dealt with it.
Yeah, pressure was definitely there. The way I dealt with it, typically, a couple of days leading up to a game, or especially on Friday, I just go dark. I wouldn't be on social media. I wouldn't talk to a whole bunch of people. I usually just have my music in, just kind of block everything out. As far as that fall went, it was kind of nice. But as far as the pressure goes, I kind of liked the challenge that it brought. Yeah. I kind of liked the fact that, we were a running team. We ran the ball a bunch. Everyone knew that. We got two of the best running backs, in my opinion, in the division. Yeah. So it's like we knew we had guys that run the ball, and we had a great O-line. So it was almost like a personal challenge to me. Like, all right, everyone knows we can run the ball. Let me show you how I can throw the ball. Yeah. So I liked that pressure a little bit, but at the same time, it was difficult.
You explained it as going dark, right? Mm-hmm. Would you recommend other athletes do that as well, or do you kind of regret doing the way you did it? No,
I don't. Absolutely. I think that helped me a ton, just kind of to focus on what's important in life. And that I would do that after football, I think. If I am struggling with something, if I have a decision to make, I think that would be because, there's so many influences coming in, and nowadays you got so many different platforms and voices in everyone's heads trying to tell you stuff. I think it's important sometimes just to go dark and really listen to what God's telling you, listen to what your heart's telling you, really just hear what's best for you.
100%. And, when you're going dark and just listening to music, locking in, just looking at what's ahead, what do you listen to? What's the beat of choice? What's the genre?
See, it depends on the day, Yeah. Because, if it's just I'm at school and I'm just kind of relaxing, I need something just in a background music, it's probably more country. Yeah. It's a little more, but game day, it's more of, and this is something where our locker room was very different. We don't play a lot of rap. It's a lot of early 2000s rock and 80s rock sometimes. And it was hilarious because we'd get to watch the other team walk in through our hallway and they'd walk right by our locker room. So we'd always sit and walk. They'd be like, what are these guys listening to? But we loved that, and that's the music my dad always played growing up. That's the McGills right there for you. I mean, that's what they played in the locker room. That's what.
It wasn't much different when I was
Yeah,
playing.
so that's what it was for game day for sure.
What's
Rocks.
one song that you had to listen to before a game?
Enter Sandman for sure. That was something we always had.
Fire. I mean, come on. Jukebox Heroes, Enter Sandman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know if Land Down Under,
Mm-hmm.
that work, man.
Yep.
Bangers.
It's good stuff.
Bangers.
Good stuff.
So in our previous episode, we talked about having a little bit of regret, right? Once we finish off the year, there's always a feeling of I could have done more for my team or just to be better. Obviously you guys had a very, very great, successful season, but is there any feeling of regret still, or do you pretty much feel accomplished with your high school football career?
Yeah, I mean, I think I put a lot in, but I'm never gonna say that I put everything I had in, because there's always that feeling of, man, I could have done more. And that's honestly one of my biggest worries in life, is always looking back and saying, what if I could have done more? What if I could have worked harder? What if I coulda, shoulda, And so as far as that goes, I think I'm going to say I did a good job of putting my heart and soul into every practice. But, I mean, there's definitely practices, where it's a Wednesday and you had a long day at school and you're like, man, I did not want to be here. And I had my fair share of those days. And looking back, those hurt, because you're like, we lost that week. And it's like, man, I didn't go hard on a Wednesday, didn't go hard on a Tuesday, and we lost on Friday. So definitely have those regrets for sure.
So, take us through a little bit of the impact that your coaching staff might have had on you, or maybe some teammates that really have helped you out throughout the years, grow as an individual and even as a person and ball player.
Yeah, for sure. My coaches have had an insane impact in my life. I mean, having the coaches that I have has really shaped me into the person that I am. Having the McGills, and so all of our coaches have either the last name McGill or Jarzab. There's 3 Jarzabs, and I think 4 McGills.
What?
4 McGills?
I think there's Coach Red, Coach Dang, Coach Andy. Am I missing somebody?
Wait, how many coaches are McGill's? Isn't it just the 2?
And then there's Coach Red, who's their cousin.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so this is 3 and 3.
Okay, gotcha.
But, so yeah, those guys, I mean, they're all good Christian men. Right. They always push the right values. I mean, no one cusses in practice, otherwise Coach McGill's taking them out back, Yeah. So running laps, right? Yeah. They make an emphasis on making us good men and then good football players. So I've been lucky to have those coaches in my life for sure. And as far as teammates go, I've had a bunch of guys. That senior class when I was a freshman was great. I mean, those guys showed me how to work hard. Nick Burden comes to mind, Isaiah McGill, more McGills. I know they're everywhere, but those guys really showed me how to work hard and achieve what I wanted. But if I had to call out a specific person, like my senior year, it would definitely be Riggs Lapp. He was starting left tackle since sophomore year. Okay. He started left tackle. And, the David Goggins term, stay hard, right? Yeah. Where it's like, and we all kind of said that as a joke, like in the spring lifting, we'd all made a joke, like, yeah, stay hard. Like we were throwing weight around, being stupid. Right. But as the year kind of went on, we kept saying it. And Riggs was one of those guys that we'd be running sprints, and he'd never be tired, and he'd never want to quit. He was one of those guys where I'd look over on a Wednesday practice or Tuesday practice, and we'd be tired, and he would always yell, tired's a mindset. Like he's just
right.
So definitely guys that helped me push through and motivate me like that was Riggs. Riggs was there.
So you're talking about, some older guys that helped motivated you and, just give you good life advice. What is something that you would say to some of those younger guys coming up to play next year?
I would say don't have any regrets. Don't slack off on a Tuesday. And also just take every moment. Don't take anything for advantage, because you look at those moments and it's like I have those forever, and in the time I just walked right by it, and I was like, I didn't sit and enjoy that moment like I should have. And just don't let moments pass by, because they go quick. Yeah. They go quick.
So we've talked about football, its value, your teammates, the coaching staff, and what all this has done for you. Mm-hmm. What has football taught you? Maybe values, lessons, and tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I would say football has taught me that, you get what you put in. You know, whatever work you put in is what you're going to get out.
Absolutely.
There's nobody at the varsity level that doesn't work hard and is just good. You know, there are some sports and there are some aspects of life where people are just naturally good at stuff, and you can't do anything about that. But football is one of those things where if you don't put the work in, you don't get anything out of it. And I think that's a great value to have the rest of my life.
Absolutely. And, you know, what are some goals for you going into this next phase of life as a person, as an athlete? What do you want to accomplish from here on out?
Yeah, I definitely want to, keep playing the game the right way.
Yeah.
Keep uplifting guys as I go. Really want to be a lead by example kind of guy. I really want guys to look at me and say, wow, that's how I want to play the game. That's how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
Do well in the classroom, all that good stuff. But
Miles, I want to know if you got any questions for either of us.
Yeah.
After high school, started my own business. I would call it pretty successful.
I would say
after
that.
high school, Cole went to go play college ball, which is kind of that route you're taking. So
Right.
do you got anything for us that you want to ask?
Yeah, I would ask you, Cole, what was, just not getting interrogative here, but what's the best part about college football that high school doesn't have? Because right now I'm looking at, and everyone's saying, yeah, football is football, and I love football.
There's not like...
But there's nothing like high school football. And so I want to know, there's nothing.
So Friday nights, there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere is big sometimes. Like, if it's a big game, big atmosphere, like tailgates, parents come to tailgates. Like, we had this parent group, Heidelberg, called the Orange Crush, and they always had, drinks and food for us after the ball game, and we would all just hang out with former alumni and hang out and talk and stuff. And really what makes it special is the fact that you're going into a place with 150 guys that also are like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
And you get to go in there. Nobody knows you. You can be genuine, who you are, and you'll make friends.
Yeah.
Everybody's suffering with you, running wind sprints or doing burpees or plate pushes or going through Hell Week. And that's what's special about college football. Like, when I was in college, I lost one of my good buddies there. He got in an ATV accident, Curtis Hellman, and this just kind of explains Heidelberg's culture. I didn't go to class for, they canceled classes on that Monday, had guidance and sports psych people there on campus that you could go see. And then not just that, then they named a award after him. And that's what college football is for me. Like, the people and the values and the morals and the fact I could probably call my head coach right now and he would answer the phone in a heartbeat, and it was brutal. I'm not like it.
Right.
It was. There was days where I got up and I'd be like, oh, get a Charlie horse or a cramp but the thing is you just have to embrace the suck sometimes. Grab your lunch pail and go to work. That's what it is, man. And I think that the connections you make is huge. My offensive coordinator, the offensive line coach, Jason Lewis, got me my job right out of college.
Wow.
Like, he knew the people there and he introduced me, and that's huge. Like, you're going to a place where they care about you developing as an adult.
Yeah.
And the way I saw it was when I graduated, I broke a rearview mirror because I wasn't looking back. I was just going to continue on, keep on keeping on, man. And it was like starting a new life. So
yeah. I love
Is there
that.
something that you're really excited about going into college? Something you just can't wait to do?
I'm excited about the freedom, for one thing, just kind of doing my own thing. But I'm also excited for that fresh start, I grew up in a town where, my dad's well known, my grandma's well known, my grandpa's well known. It's just like, I'm excited. And that's kind of a weird thing to say, people to not know me. But I'm excited to have no one know me and, make who I want to be. I'm going to make that. So
I think Lou Jackson talked about it in his episode as well. Went to Indian Lake, now plays football at Wittenberg.
Yeah, Wittenberg.
He talked about how Indian Lake not so big, everyone kind of knows you,
right?
Especially if you're just a good overall athlete.
Exactly.
And he just kind of talked about how he really enjoyed the fact that no one knew who he was over there, and he's had to rebuild himself.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that you kind of mentioned that as well.
For sure.
Be ready for characters, okay? That's my biggest thing. I had a buddy. His name was Dexter. We call him Famous Dex. And he wore a Simba pillow pet on his head. Just everywhere. A Simba pillow pet, like, wrapped around his head. And he'd always have, like, a beat going in his ear. And you would just hear him going, hey, yeah. And I would always come back to my room after meetings, and Dex would have this pillow wrapped around his head laying on the floor sleeping. And he always had a bag of chips sitting on his chest or something. And I didn't know if it was like a persona, like he was just putting this on, or if this is actually how Dexter was. But he slept on our floor all camp when he had a bed upstairs. And he was constantly trying, like, we had team introductions, for example. Everybody's saying, like, I'm Cole, fun fact about me. And Dex's fun fact was he could freestyle. And
Was it good?
He turns on this like soft melody music, and he just sits there. He's like, "I just want some love, baby, come give me love." And everybody just started booing him off, like, "Get off, like, go!" But no, characters are for sure, dude. And some of my best friends, they're characters. I'm not scared to admit it. I had a roommate, Spence, my best buddy, love him to death. EDM all the time, and he was always walking around like, bumping, and then Wally, man, he's got energy, and Wally would show up at like 9 a.m. with eye black before noon even, and stuff like that. That is college. I love that. That's the relationships. That's the people, and not a single time there could I say, oh yeah, that cheeseburger was good,
Right.
Like, the food was good, yeah, sure, but I don't remember the food. I remember the people that I got to meet, you feel me?
Yeah.
So.
We talked a lot about football. I do want to touch a little bit on basketball because you guys obviously won the championship there as well. So can you just walk us through the season?
Yeah, basketball was a ton of fun. I mean, it's one of those games where, for me, it's kind of weird because it's not, like, my main love. Mm-hmm. And so it was a weird feeling, because playing football was like, I gave my heart to that game because I cared so much about it. And basketball, it was like, I didn't really have that love for it, right. Especially come senior year. I was ready to, start working out for college. I was ready to get going. But really just understanding that some guys, that is their main thing. Like my teammate Taryn, I don't know if y'all watched any of my games, but he was 2-time OHC Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, or just Player of the Year, not Offensive Player of the Year, but just 2-time. He's only a junior this year. As a sophomore, he won it. As a junior, he won it.
Wait, he won it as a sophomore?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's probably going to be a 1,000-point scorer. Like, basketball is his thing. So, it was, like, kind of just realizing that it's not my main love, but it's his. Right. And it's other guys on the team. So, it was fun to play with the guys, really fly around and have some fun out there and just compete at a high level. And we won the championship again. And yeah, senior year was kind of a movie, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Winning two championships in 1 year. Senior year was kind of a movie. Yeah.
To end it off, man, I just want to thank you for not only just coming on here, but, you're also another guy, repping the brand on and off the field. So, it really means a lot to me that you did it for football and for basketball. So,
absolutely.
Thank you again. And, thank you for sharing your story with us, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Dude, it was a pleasure. I mean, another OAC guy up in here, man. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for you. This will be a good journey, and I hope you stick with it. It'll definitely help you grow as a person, and I'm sure you're going to meet pretty lovely people down there. Shout out Coach Farley, by the way, old GA of mine. I'm going to be coaching this young buck here, so stay tuned for the Huddle. We appreciate you all for joining us.
Perfect. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for having me.